Musannif rahimahullah ta'ala in his book Wabil al-Sayyib, Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, in his book we've been covering called Wabil al-Sayyib wa Rafi Kalim al-Tayyib, which can be translated as the shower of good utterances or the invocations of God. You will find it in English being the invocations of God. It's an abridged version, and we are covering the abridged version here. So last Sunday, Thursday, we spoke about how the slave can be tested, and how the inner battle between the shayateen or shaitan and the nafs is over, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equips us with the army, the armor, and the fortress, and how if we use that, we can obliterate the shaitan as a reward for our patience in this limited life. And he concluded by speaking about the temporary time span of our existence in this dunya. And he ended with that. And that's a good way, subhanAllah, when he ends that particular faqarah, or that particular thought, he moves on and it continues to talk about the temporary nature of this life. And he says, rahimahullah, فَإِنْ ضَعُفَتَ النَّفْسُ عَنْ مُلَاحَظَةِ قِصَرِ الْوَقْتِ وَسُرْعَةَ انْقِضَائِهِ فليتدبر قوله عز وجل كأنهم يرون ما يوعدون لم يلبثوا إلا ساعة من نهار. وقوله تعالى كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. And he mentions other verses here. Inshallah, I just want to mention maybe two of them. So he says here, rahimahullah ta'ala, فَإِنْ ضَعَفَتِ النَّفْسُ عَنْ مُلَاحَظَةِ قِصَرِ الْوَقْتِ. So if the nafs, or the spirit, or the soul is not attentive to or doesn't pay attention to the shortness of the time frame and how it will elapse, the time frame in this physical life, he says, then think about the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the day when they will see what they have been promised, and in actuality it was not even an hour or a time span of the daytime, to show that this time span of this life is temporary. It is temporary, and it is short, a short period of time. And we covered that last week, inshallah. And he mentions numerous verses here. He goes on to say, وَخَطَبَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ أَصْحَابَهُ يَوْمًا فَلَمَّا كَانَتِ الشَّمْسُ عَلَى رُؤُوسِ الْجِبَالِ وَذَلِكَ عِنْدَ الْغُرُوبِ قال إنه لم يبق من الدنيا فيما مضى إلا كما بقي من يومكم هذا فيما مضى منه. أخرجه الترمذي وصححه وحسنه ابن حجر في الأمالي. So he says here, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gives another proof to show how this life is temporary, and for us to remember that when we're in this battle with shaitan. He says the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood up and gave a khutbah in particular day, and he said, فَلَمَّا كَانَتِ الشَّمْسُ عَلَى رُؤُوسِ الْجِبَالِ, when the sun was on the crests of the hills, like the sun was yaghru, it was declining. He said, إنه لم يبق من الدنيا فيما مضى إلا كما بقي من يومكم هذا. He said that the dunya, there's not that much left from this time span in the dunya, just as the time span of this day has elapsed. He compares it to the day. So there is a little time left in this world as there is in this day. So he's saying, if you look at the time span of the day, for instance, we're in Salat al-Isha. The time span of the remainder of our life in this dunya, what is elapsed from our existence, is comparable to the time that is elapsed from the time span of today. So there's only a little time left. And our sleep could be viewed as the cousin of death, which is another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So showing that the time span is small, and that's what he was articulating here, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Ibn al-Qayyim continues on and he says, فَلْيَتَأَمَّلْ الْعَاقِلُ النَّاصِحُ لِنَفْسِهِ هَذَا الْحَدِيث. So he says the individual, the intellectual one that really wants good for themselves, will think about this hadith. وَلْيَعْلَمْ أي شيء حصل له من هذا الوقت الذي قد بقي في الدنيا بأسرها ليعلم أنه في غرور وأضغاث الأحلام. أضغاث الأحلام. He says, rahimahullah, and also to know that anything that they have been given in this time frame of this world, الذي قد بقي في الدنيا بأسرها, what has been left of this world, he or she should know that it amounts to nothing and it is just something that is a dream. It is not that we should not take into high account and revere, because it will amount to nothing. He's saying that it is full of deception and despicable, miserable things and delusion. He's speaking about the dunya, if we were to cherish it. And then he says here, وَأَنَّهُ قَدْ بَاعَ سَعَادَةَ الْأَبَدِ وَنَعِيمَ الْمُقِيمَ بِحَظِّ خَسِيسٍ لَا يُسَاوِي شَيْئًا. And then he says, and to know that he has sold the happiness, the everlasting happiness and bliss that will be there, بِحَظٍ خَسِيسٍ, with a despicable thing that doesn't amount to nothing. That if an individual was to cherish this world, knowing that what you are cherishing is full of despicable deceptions, and it ultimately amounts to nothing. This is if in comparison to the next life, meaning that if you sacrifice the actions, the deeds, even the intentions for something of this life, particularly if the thing or things of this life is in contradiction with the things of the next life, know that that sacrifice and that compromise is something that is demise. It is not worth it. In the end of the day, it's not worth it. When you do something of this life or leave off something of this life that is of goodness in the next life, for instance, if you leave off the prayer, if you leave off goodness, lying even. Why does someone lie? Because they fear the consequences of truth. They fear the consequences of truth, so therefore they lie. That is a smaller scale of sacrificing something of the next life for something of this life. That's on a smaller scale. So Ibn al-Qayyim, he continues on to say, وَلَوْ طَلَبَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى وَالدَّارَ الْآخِرَةِ لَأَعْطَاهُ ذَلِكَ الْحَظَّ هَنِيئًا مُوَفَّرًا وَأَكْمَلَ مِنْهُ. He says, and if he was to desire Allah in the next life, then he would give him that plentiful of that which is congratulatory to him in a great amount, and in that which is complete. كما في بعض الآثار ابن آدم بع الدنيا بالآخرة تربحهما جميعا ولا تبع الآخرة بالدنيا تخسرهما جميعا. And then he says here a statement of some of the righteous, pious predecessors. He says that they said, "Oh, the son of Adam, sell the dunya for the akhirah. You will profit from both of them." And he says, "Do not sell the akhirah for the dunya." For what? Who can tell me? Who can guess? You'll lose both of them. You'll lose out on both of them. I'm going to repeat that again. He said, "Oh, the son of Adam, sell the dunya for the akhirah. You will benefit from both of them. And do not sell the akhirah for the dunya, for you will lose in both of them." Do you understand that? Do you understand that, Jama'ah? Yeah. So when you do something for the akhirah, even though in your perception you may have lost in the dunya, know that you have not lost. Rather, you have gained in your akhirah. Because the dunya is only a place of work and investment for the akhirah. But if you make a false or shallow or uninformed investment in the dunya because of your desires and your seeking pleasures, knowing that it will not benefit you in the akhirah, for verily you have lost in the dunya and in the akhirah. Is everyone with me on that? That is the general concept and framework of Islam. And that's a beautiful, beautiful statement. And in the last portion here, he says, وَقَالَ بَعْضَ السَّلَفِ ابْنَ آدَمَ أنت محتاج إلى نصيبك من الدنيا وأنت إلى نصيبك من الآخرة أحوج. He says, "Oh, the son of Adam." They say, "Oh, the son of Adam, you are in need of your portion from this dunya. أنت محتاج إلى نصيبك من الدنيا. You need your portion from this dunya, and your portion from the akhirah you are in much more need of. فإن بدأت بنصيبك من الدنيا أضعت نصيبك من الآخرة." He said, if you were to, now this is the most important. He said, if you were to put your worldly affairs first, then you would lose your portion of the akhirah. وَكُنْتَ مِن نَصِيبِ الدُّنْيَا عَلَى خَطَرٍ. And threaten your worldly your worldly one. It would threaten your worldly one. وَإِن بَدَأْتَ بِنَصِيبِكَ مِنَ الْآخِرَةِ فُزْتَ بِنَصِيبِكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا فَانْتَظَمْتَهُ انْتِظَامًا. He said, and if you were to really be concerned, your primary concern of the portion of the akhirah was your primary concern, you would win with your portion of the dunya, and it would be put in its proper place. So that is what Ibn al-Qayyim is articulating here when he's talking about the temporary portion, the temporary time frame that we will have in his life, in this life. So remember that this time is temporary, so invest in that which matters. Invest in that which matters. And that is what is beautiful about the pillars of Iman. Because when we talk about this subject matter, what pillar of Iman comes to mind? Faith. But there's 6 pillars of Iman. Firstly, what are the 6 pillars of Iman? Belief in? Okay. Belief in Allah. Belief in the angels. Belief in the prophets. Belief in the hereafter. The books. And qadr. Right? So when talking about the temporary time frame in this life, and talking about بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةَ, and desiring the next life over this life, and making that a priority, what pillar of Iman comes to mind? Which one? Okay, the Day of Judgment. How? How does belief in the Day of Judgment come to mind in this subject matter? Sorry? You're going to be accountable for the actions you've done because... So when you talk about accountability, what does that signify? Action. Okay. Accountability means that there will be a time where you will be held accountable. What is that time? Huh? The end of what? Life. The end of existence. The end of the dunya. Right? The end of the physical and moving on to the metaphysical. So when you think of the Day of Judgment, that means that there will be a day that kullu man alayha fan, everything will perish. Right? يَوْمَ يَقُومُ النَّاسُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, the day that everyone will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ, everyone shall die. There is a next stage. That's what بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى, in the chapter of Al-A'la. Rather you prefer this life of this world, and the next life is better and everlasting. So Allah is preparing you with this mentality of the akhirah mindset. To whatever you do, look at it as an investment in the akhirah. Right now we are praying. We prayed for something. Can we guarantee that we are going to get what we prayed for? No. But do we know that Allah loves the fact of doing this action? Yes. Do we know if it is accepted or not? We don't. But what's important for you is to do the action, because that action serves as an investment. When? In the akhirah. In the akhirah. Because literally the Prophet said, your actions will be weighed. Your actions, will be weighed. And that's why when we look at this pillar of the Day of Judgment, it is very, very important, because if no one cares about anything or anyone, and they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they know that there will be a day that they will be asked about everything. What is the verse that speaks about the atom's weight? Whoever does an atom's weight of good, they shall see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil, they shall see it. When? On that day. On that day when there is no return. So remembering that, Ibn al-Qayyim articulates this very beautifully by bringing the verses in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is a beautiful hadith for us to remember. And subhanAllah, when you think of this hadith every single day before we go to sleep, like at this time we can think, subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ said that the time frame of the dunya is like the time frame of what's left on this particular day. And that was when the sun was going down. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those that are attentive of this life, that it is temporary, and make us of those that take every opportunity to worship Him in goodness. إنه ولي ذلك يا رب العالمين اغفر لنا من ذنوبنا يا حي يا قيوم يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شؤوننا كلها ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين اللهم اربط على قلوب إخواننا المستضعفين في غزة يا رب العالمين، وأمدهم بمدد من عندك يا العزيز يا القوي يا المتين يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا المتكبر يا المهيمن. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. حياكم.